Good morning again, everyone. So last time I talked, I gave a talk on Bodhichitta, the mind of awakening, and I thought I'd return to that today and talk about the way in which we realize it in our lives day to day, especially with others. This is a central aspect to our realization of bodhicitta, central aspect to liberation from suffering, a central aspect of our teaching and of orienting ourselves to a life that's life-giving, that deepens us. And it's the basis of how we are together as a Sangha and in the wider world, because the Sangha is never apart from the wider world, right? So just to review, bodhicitta is the mind and heart of awakening. Bodhi means enlightenment or awakening, and chitta means mind, heart, consciousness. So chitta gets kind of shifted into shin in Japanese Soto Zen language, which means both mind and heart. And chitta has the sense of consciousness, which is much larger than what we think or what we feel. It's the whole way that we're aware in our lives. So it's this mind, this consciousness of awakening, and the mind and heart that's dedicated to awakening. So this commitment to awakening with all beings. And as I talked about last time, it's not just our commitment, it's a reflection, it is the activity of bodhicitta that is expressed in our commitment to awakening. So it's a responsive two-way street in a way. Each time we take up the practice of being awake and responsive with others, we express this mind of awakening. And we're also carried and taught and transformed by it. I like a dynamic interplay. The thing is, we find peace in that. We find peace in that activity, in that commitment, in that resting in bodhicitta. And we come to know that we're not limited to who we think we are. We're not bound by who we think we are. That means any darkness, any pain, any habitual notions that we have about ourselves, about how we experience our lives. We're not bound by that. We're not just that. That can be a little destabilizing, you know, to like actually, even for a moment, you would consider that. And it can be even more destabilizing sometimes when we think, oh, that's true, not just for me, but for everybody else as well. All the people in my life, all the beings in my life are not limited by my ideas. So we don't, it's important to notice we don't banish darkness, pain, or sense of limitation. Our practice is not like that. We're not trying to root something out. It doesn't arise from a foundation of divisiveness, like, oh, this is good and that's bad, and we got to get rid of that. It's a completely different way of looking at things. Our practice rests in another view altogether, one that's not caught by our ideas, by our definitions. We rely on the precepts, on acting with care and kindness towards ourselves and others, but the vision is based in something that's dynamic and whole and inclusive. It's not about striving or proving. It's not about ambition or ranking and comparisons. Everything is included. Even striving is included. So there's just no need to lop off aspects of reality. That's challenging, I think, for us. We can see all of this clearly as another unfolding. In particular, we can see our human frailty. And we can see and discover the dignity and worth that's inherent in our lives and in reality itself. So this is true in all circumstances. One really concrete way to recall ourselves to this, and something I've spoken of a couple times before, is a spirit with which we enter the Zendo. So, or if you're at home, the spirit with which you take your seat when you sit down. So it only takes a moment to stop and remember that when we enter this Zendo, we enter a realm in which we can set down all of our ambitions, all of our striving, all of our ranking, all of our judgments. We turn upside down the consumer striving culture that we swim in every day. Just turn it upside down. We leave it with our shoes at the door. We can actually let it go here. You can let it go when you sit down at home. It's one of the reasons why it's nice when you have a home practice, if you can designate one space, because physicality reminds us of something. You know, if we have the space, even a corner to mark off as a place of practice for ourselves, we can say, I set all that aside. This is a sacred activity. It's a way of freedom. It's a way of rest. It's a way of opening. Yeah. So this is, you know how Christians talk about the good news? Well, this is our good news. Our good news is that we don't need to become anything. We don't need to be anything other than what we are to live a life that expresses awakening. It's present and it lights our way always. So we know that this doesn't just occur when we sit somewhere or come to the Zendo, not by a long shot. Like our life of practice is all the time. Sometimes this can be a bit daunting. Like, can't you just isn't there some place I can go where practice doesn't occur? But it's not like that. And it's not constricting either. It should be like, wow, isn't this great? I have access to this anytime, anywhere. It's completely portable. All I have to do is stop and take a breath, maybe. Yeah. So to stop and sit still, just as you are, with the knowledge that that very act is awakening, to be that for a time in stillness and silence is super important. It's a touchstone for us. But it's not the only place. If we relegate our practice to that, we've really missed the ball. So think about different aspects of your life, how you wash dishes, how you look for the newspaper in the morning, if you still get a newspaper like we do, or open your computer for the day, or whatever. How do you do those things? How do you approach those things? Who is it that does those things? You can ask those questions. Most especially, I think, our challenges come in our relationships with others, and bringing this spirit into our relationship with others is crucial. So not just human others, but animal others, plant others, rock others, teacup others, just dust ball in the corner others, all of it. In fact, we know there are no others. And at the same time, there are particular, specific, me, you, stories, experiences, relationships. Particularity is something that we honor and respect. Dogen Zenji says in the fascicle Komyo, Radiant Light, everybody has their own radiant light. Everybody has their own radiant light. So in a sense, our light is no different from the radiant light of all beings. It's not something we possess. It's already there. We are the same nature as all beings. This light, our light, is light. It's just light. And at the same time, through the prism of our lives, this light shines differently, doesn't it? When we allow this to guide our vision, to see ourselves and others more clearly, more kindly, we see with the eyes of Bodhichitta, we see with the eyes of the mind of awakening. Dogen says later, the radiant light allows the radiant light to respond. Okay? The radiant light allows the radiant light to respond. I really love this. I've talked about this phrase before because I think it teaches us something. This is the relational foundation of our practice. It's not that there's a radiant light that's somehow in each of us shining out, like it's a discrete thing. It is that radiant light is this responsive, interconnected reality that we together we realize the way. So attending to our human relationships in particular can make this quite visible in a very personal way. Yeah, it's personal. Every relationship, no matter how brief, peaceful, delightful, contentious, opens us up to an avenue to express bodhicitta. The ordinary encounter you're having here with someone at the Zendo, or at work, or at the grocery store, on the street, is an opportunity to see deeply and clearly with the eyes of bodhicitta. This other human being with their own life and struggles, their own foibles, because we know none of us are perfect, all have dignity, radiant light. So we know our vision is often obscured, but the opportunity and sometimes the challenge is always there to see as clearly as we can, to live with the mind heart of awakening in this very specific circumstance. We all know that if we allow ourselves to see others in this way and act on that knowledge, our relationships are transformed, and so are we. So it's interesting to reflect on what keeps us from it. Usually it's old habit, something deeply entrenched. that may not be visible to us. Sometimes we can think, the self that we know ourselves to be is completely engulfed by these ideas that we have. So we can come to know this about ourselves by taking time to reflect. And in self-reflection, we are deeply kind and honest with ourselves about what we're up to, our fears and our desires, the things that can drive and bind us, our foibles and downfalls. In other words, our particular brand of humanness. Our deepest aspirations, what we want for this life, our gifts, and how we can give them. It's not just the difficult, gritty bits that we ignore. We also ignore the gifts sometimes, the beauty, the wholesomeness, the delight. So when we do this, it's not abstract. It's very concrete, and it requires us to stop and think and feel fully. It can open up new ways of seeing ourselves and others. Because we care about living a life of practice with others, and we trust that such a life is liberating for us and for them, we do it with a spirit of openness and caring and welcome. Welcome for all of it. Welcome for all of it. And if we want to encounter ourselves beyond our own sometimes limited vision, we can seek counsel from a trusted other, someone who can walk with us on the path, a teacher, a guide, a spiritual friend of any kind. The gift of another view is precious. In self-reflection, we consider our inner lives and our relational lives guided by the Dharma. We take seriously that in the teaching, there's no fixed, immutable, permanent self, that our lives are intertwined, that bodhicitta is real. When we do that, how does that transform us in our relationships? We might examine how we boxed others or ourselves in with a set narrative. We might consider options beyond the ones we have seen before. We make changes. Perhaps we listen more. Perhaps we take the risk of reaching out to someone we would like to know. Perhaps we say more or we say less, or we show up in different ways. Each of us is different. And at the same time, each of us shares our humanity. We frame all of this within the context of our day-to-day practice. We see and understand it as liberative, as freeing us. If bodhicitta or any of the teachings remain abstract, they continue to live only in the realm of ideas, and they're not really known. To be known, they must be lived fully and concretely. In the Tenzo Kyokun instructions to the cook, Dogen speaks of Daishin, great, vast, or magnanimous mind and heart. So this is this quality of inclusiveness, of vastness, of stability and mountainness. So this is a mind that can respond to everyone and everything with that spirit of bodhicitta. It's noble, courageous, generous, forgiving. It sees clearly and calmly with a kind and generous spirit in our shared life together. When we do this, a certain kind of quality of relationship unfolds naturally. This is not easy. facing our minds and hearts and enacting our intention in the complexity of our human community is not always or even often easy, but it is important. It is important for us as we follow the path, and it is important for others as we try and create a community of stability and kindness. Dogen Senji says, again in the Tenzo Kyokun, be very clear about this. All the great teachers down through the ages have learned the meaning of Daishin, magnanimous mind, not merely from writing the character for it, but through the various events and circumstances of their lives. So let me read that again. Be very clear about this. All the great teachers down through the ages have learned the meaning of Daishin, not merely from writing the character for it, abstraction, but through the various events and circumstances of their lives. All the various events and circumstances, all the people, beings, things in our lives. In particular, I think the human ones. They are often the most tricky, don't you think? I mean, I hear about, I don't have a dog, but I did when I was growing up, and I see people with their dogs and they say, oh, it's just, my dog loves me no matter what, right? I come home, my dog's happy to see me. My dog loves me. It's like, that's great. That's a dog. But our lives are generally more complicated than that. Yeah. So Dogen is speaking to the Tenzo here, a person who works hard every day in the kitchen. They're responsible for the food at the monastery. They're often in close contact with others with imperfect ingredients, getting food out to hungry monks. It's not an easy job. It's one that is deeply respected in our tradition and generally, if at all possible, reserved for the most mature practitioners. So the person who's head of the meditation hall and the person who's head of the kitchen are considered to be equal. Tenzo Roshi. So this is like so important in our tradition. And we don't relegate our practice to some so-called spiritual realm. It happens while you're cooking beans. So like the Tenzo, we respond to our lives fully with the ingredients that we have. And we make of them lives of awakening through our intention to live out the way in all its aspects. We realize bodhicitta, radiant light, daishin in each interaction, each act of care, each time we embody the dignity of our way. There's no faking this mind. No way to pretend. Yamada Roshi said, honesty is the most important thing in the practice of Zazen. Not harshness, but honesty. So we have to do the work of encountering our own minds and hearts with the same clarity and kindness that we seek to embody with others, and vice versa. We do this, we know that this commitment is an expression of what is already true, bodhicitta, radiant light, magnanimous mind, already true. And we realize that by doing it. So we recognize the freedom and care that arises in such a life. Maybe we have glimpses of it, maybe we have days of it, maybe we have weeks of it. Maybe we just say, well, I'm going to trust that it's true, even though I don't feel it right now at all. In this, we settle. We can settle. We can settle into a commitment. We can settle into an aspiration. And we notice when we settle into an aspiration, there's a bit more generosity, a bit more patience, a bit more openness, a bit more ability to see the person before us as more than any definition we might have for them. And the same is true for us. So we make this effort and we grow in this way. And as we grow in this way, our commitment grows. So again, make this real for yourselves. Reflect on Bodhichitta, Dogen's words, orient yourself with them. Consider your own heart and mind in the light of the teachings. Consider a certain, like you might do something specific, like consider a specific person or circumstance that challenges or enlivens you. Take up a challenge. Maybe a little risk. It's so unique what this is to each of us. There's no one way. Don't make it tough. Make it doable. Take time to reflect on who you want to be. Not like this like grasping aspiration, but just gently, thoroughly, respectfully. That's your dignity there. And when you fail, recommit. Do this not to be good, but to be alive, to wake up, to embody the way and enjoy it. It's true that this is not always easy. We are humans. But really, what else do we have to do with this life? Questions, comments?